Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. Now, what is Coteries of New York? What is this game? Well, plain and simple, it's a point-and-click, choose-your-own-adventure type of game-ish. But it's not really point-and-click, it's more of a sort of just select the dialogue option. It's kind of like an interactive story, right? So I've played through a little bit of it, but I'm going to start a new game here. And I'm going to start off as, let's say, a Bruiser. Sure, and his name's going to be Stefan. Thank you very much. Alright. So, essentially, the story of the game I'm not going to spoil for you, and as a result, this will be a mighty short video of me explaining how the game works, would I recommend it, what it's like, and that's about it. So, mighty short video for a First Impressions series, and well, for a First Impressions video. Yeah, that doesn't work, but you get my meaning. Anyways, so, let's get to it. This is basically the core of the gameplay. You're gonna be hitting this button a lot. It's about the story, right? There's little interactivity other than you just choosing, what your character will do. And there is quite a lot of replayability in the game, that does need to be said. You cannot simply choose minor actions that lead to slightly different outcomes, you can choose some pretty major things. So, let's get to it. The game doesn't have voice acting, though. Do I think this is a good or bad thing? Honestly, personal preference, I would have preferred it with voice acting for the NPCs, not for your character. However, there's a ton of lines. I understand that it's a little bit tricky, but hey. You do also have this dictionary, and you do also have this, which is basically a log of things you need to, things you've heard, things you need to do, etc., etc. But other than that, it's basically just interacting with other NPCs and, making decisions in certain scenarios. The story goes pretty much like all vampire games. You've been turned into a vampire, you're new to the entire thing, you have no idea what's going on, and you're thrown into the politically complex world of the Camarilla and the, rebels and all of that good stuff that is in the world of darkness. So, is the game any good? Well, first of all, let's go through a little bit of it, through the beginning, through the sort of tutorial, and then we'll talk about the aesthetics and do I recommend it. Had you asked me about fate when I was human, I would have told you it is just superstitious bullshit, that we are all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate? You decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen for a little longer. You see, my mistake was I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see its glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in the eyes. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within me and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided it would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed showing me a peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate. A message saying you're eternally doomed to being at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I learned about your arrival to the JFK airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happens to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get that wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favour you owe me. You're the only one I'd trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think you won't get away with it unpunished. But this is New York. And I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And right now, it's smiling in your favour. This is how it begins. The music is pounding and your pulse is keeping pace. This is one of those nights that makes you feel alive, even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup, then the realization you have nobody to talk about how much it sucked. Still, you decided to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local events later and you found just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride and you find yourself at the club just outside Dumbo. Not a fancy one, mind you. More like a slightly refurbished warehouse. But hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJ seems to really know his shit too, alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers. Expertly feeling out everyone's mood. An hour passes, then 2. Usually you'd feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight you find something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in, even as you allowed the beat to take over. Sweat, yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. A thought pops into your head. From the outside, the fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare, but here, in the thick of it, it becomes exhilarating. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accentuated by the light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish it could last forever because you know all too well what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, the commute, the 9-to-5 grind that will keep you just enough money to pay the rent and keep you living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. And with Jessica moving out, it'll all be coming out of your pocket. You run some quick calculations in your head and immediately come to the regret that you did. Never mind, you spot the Latina again. She's now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of not going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Fuck. Your mood temporarily shot down. You leave the dance floor and stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face. Obsessively. Over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. I've never felt like this with anyone. Seriously, I mean it. I feel like all of my relationships up to this point were test runs, a shitty way to compensate for my low self-esteem. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day of my life. God, I need a smoke. Pass me a light. What do you mean cops took the lighter? There's one in your mouth. Shut the hell up, Jess. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you. Acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're oppressing people with a tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Yeah, now that sounds like the Jessica of today. You raise your head and look in the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is, the Latina from before. She says, "You look like you need a drink." You hesitate for a second or two and then blurt out a surprisingly enthusiastic, "Yeah!" You start to talk, it quickly becomes evident that she's into politics, and you are eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of the evenings reading theory, actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes, and organising for all manner of causes online. The status quo sucks. There must be something better. She agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories. You have compatible ideas about DSA's missteps, you even watch the same YouTube channels. Your goals are aligned. Progressive political theories? I don't think so. Mind you, I am a bruiser. That doesn't necessarily mean much, though. She's a bit more radical than you'd have guessed. You attend a few rallies, been to a few protests, but this girl sounds like she broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over the course of her activist career. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stops working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tatu. Seriously? This is a meme song at this point, but alright. You chuckle to yourself, trying not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside, but soon enough you find yourselves too invested in listening to the girl's voice. Too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. You realise you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for a stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out, and yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your neck. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. "I've got a better idea," she says. At this point you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend just a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx, trading a few words with the balding, tired-looking guy at the front desk. He hands her a key. Still holding your hand, the woman leads you up the stairs. The room you end up is almost comically stereotypical, complete with the flaking paintings and the sticky floor. Not that it matters, though. The moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy, fun, fierce. And at once, does she lose the initiative. And not once does she lose the initiative, sorry. Your hands reach under her t-shirt. Strange. It didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cold. As if sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off of her. She kisses your neck. You are overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice saying, "Sorry, kid. I did what I had to do to leave the city in one piece. But don't worry, with my blood and your principles, You're gonna do just fine. She slams the motel door behind you as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soiled, pungent mattress for some time, minutes, hours, before you can focus enough to try and piece your evening together. It hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your insides shrivel in terror, in an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, squirm on the floor in sundering pain, then jump to your feet and bust out the door. You black out. This isn't the room you saw when you last closed your eyes. Somebody curses at you, a small naked buff dude holding a short leather whip. Whoa, what a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. The guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on your arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Whoa. Whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realise you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is there. A woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame, an eye mask over her face, red marks on her back. This time you see it happen. You want to stop, but can't. She almost manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite the side of her neck. You drink. Blood. You're drinking blood. Well, ow. No shit. You could swear you feel her life force escaping you swear you could feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly, terrified, you tear away from her, but she's not moving, but she is breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though... You double over in a spasm, realising what you did. You feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in, as another realisation dawns on you. Your heart is not beating. You put 2 fingers to your wrist, but feel no pulse. Same thing on your neck. Nothing. There is no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Get someone to call an ambulance, for yourself at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really kill him? What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He brushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Now we come to the interactive bit. This was the backstory in the tutorial, and I hope I did an okay job reading it for you, and I hope you enjoyed my interpretation of it. Now, it is important to mention something before we continue. Well, actually a few things. I'm going to go with, first of all, the visuals. There's not that many pictures. I sort of wish that there were more pictures describing sort of the actions as they were happening. I think that would add to the value of the game and would sort of make it a lot more recommendable, ultimately, because we're going to be looking at this, which is like the lobby of the hotel we're in, for a while. I would have preferred to actually see the room, see the corpse, you know, and not necessarily show everything. I do understand that there is a lot of value in not showing you visually what the game's talking about and letting you imagine, because the way, if you're really into the story and you really like it, the way you imagine it is, in your head, is going to just feel a lot better and is going to be a lot more right in your own mind than when someone visualizes it for you and puts it on screen. Same with reading books or reading descriptions of characters. You can have the most detailed description of a character, he's going to look better in your head than when someone paints him or someone hires an actor to play as that character, right? So I understand the value of that, but also having a little bit more visual scenes here and there would make it a lot better. But the ones that do exist are flipping gorgeous. They create an amazing atmosphere. The sound is really good as well. The rain, the subtle little noises in the background all contribute to a very immersive feeling, and it really draws you in, especially if you like the vampire story and the vampire world, or the Vampire the Masquerade story and then world and factions and lore and all that good stuff. Also, it is important to note that there are 3 different characters. Each of them have different starting stories, and their stories are kind of different in that they progress in different ways. Later down the line, and pretty much from the beginning as well. So you have at least 3 playthroughs there, plus you can make different choices and see different outcomes. So quite a bit of replayability to the game. Right, now let's pick one. This is not what it looks like. Out of the way, call 911. So the other one I went with the stranger, and I'm going to try and escape from him. Out of the way. Out of the way, I got a call for help. The call's been made. I'm the help. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder? Assault? That's 25 to life, if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Mind you, some scenes do repeat. He takes a look at his expensive-looking watch. Yeah, I've seen that twice already. Some of the scenes do repeat, some of the segments do repeat. It's not completely 3 unique paths, and it's not always, it's not every dialogue option leads to something unique. But there is a lot of replayability. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might not have gotten here in time. Come on, the sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around here when it does. The sun? What's the matter when the sun comes up? Ah, so you don't even know. You should be glad I got here before you made yourself scarce. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now listen to me. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you, and going by experience, they tend to fall into 2 categories. First, there are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try and pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, sound and safe. And there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on, the wise guy who tried to contact someone secretly and without permission, the troublemaker who tries to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, like dozens of times. Likely dozens of times. So, you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness. One that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times, and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realise it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say I understand, sir. Now. Never been too eager to bend the knee to anyone, but this is something else. The man's very presence instills a primal fear in your heart. Fuck you. With all due respect, sir, go fuck yourself. Strike 1, and watch the language, whelp. Moving on. Is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation, to tell them you're alright? He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason the sight sends a chill down your spine. There is something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? My ex-girlfriend. Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. Stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity. He turns his eyes to the corpse on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, if you'd like to ruin her day and let her know that you're all right, give me her phone number. I'll have someone take care of it. Discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the number from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving you back your phone, the man hides it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I'd suggest you cooperate. He proudly displays his fangs again. You've put Jess in danger. God damn it. Alright, I think I'm going to call it here, basically. Well, actually, no, I'm going to skip a little bit of this, because I don't want to take too much of your time. But, basically, we can follow him out, we can call for help, or we can... yeah, let's call for help. That's a strike. That's strike 2. Let's punch the stranger. You really shouldn't have done that. Please let me go. Huh. That's interesting. I could have sworn that this would have led to me dying and having to restart, but apparently not. I'm just completely maimed, probably. Rise and shine, fledgling. You've got places to be. Huh. Okay, interesting. Well, I'm not going to spoil any more of the story for you. That's enough. I recommend that you pick this game up. If you can tolerate it. What do I mean by that? Well, if you can be bothered to read a whole bunch of dialogue and basically do nothing more. If this is something that interests you, if you know, I think it's fairly straightforward. If you think you can get immersed into something like this and you like it, grab the game, experience it for yourself. There's plenty of freedom of choice, and I think you're going to like it. If you don't like dialogues in video games, if you prefer more, you're more sort of, I guess, action-oriented, then yeah, this is definitely not for you. But the game's good, the atmosphere it creates is great, the story is pretty solid. I haven't seen a lot of it, I've seen a little bit with the other character, but yeah, it's immersive, it's fun, the writing is good for the most part, with occasionally being a bit obnoxious and just maybe worded poorly or unnecessarily repetitive or something along those lines, you know what I mean? For example, like, you're drinking blood. Don't tell me, show me, is a really good... okay, so this is me being perhaps overcritical, because that's sort of what I am by profession, you know, uni and philology and all that. Don't tell me, show me is a really good principle to stick to in those situations, where simply, you know, after showing you that you're drinking blood, telling you that you're drinking blood, and then repeating it is a little bit, you know, too much. And there's sort of errors like that, or I guess dips in the quality of the writing occasionally throughout the story, but it's mostly really well done. It's interesting, and it's kind of an equivalent to reading a novel or a comic or a book, that's interactive. So if you're into something like that, and if you're into reading, basically, go for it, absolutely. If not, then, well, I guess wait for Vampire the Masquerade 2. That's going to be probably a lot more up your alley. Even though there is a lot of dialogue in that game as well, or there will be. At least I hope that it will, but, you know, based on everything we've seen, there probably will be. Anyways, that's it for me. I intended this video to be like 15 minutes long. Turns out it's going to be 30, but sounds like me, alright. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video. I want to stay tuned with the rest of the series, well, the first impression sort of thing that I do occasionally, and for the rest of the content that I produce on the channel in general. Until next time, have fun, take care, and good night.